1 of every 3 marriages in this country, black or white, ends in a divorce in 18 months. Now you see, it used to be if you got a divorce, something was wrong with you. But when you have a stat this high, something must be going on in society. When America believed in agriculture, America believed in extended family. When America believed in the factory, industrialism, America believed in the nuclear family. But now that America believes in the computer, now America believes in a single parent family. When the economy changed, the family structure changed.
Moynihan said it a long time ago, give the boys a separate educational system. Okay, long time ago, right? That does work. How come we don't push it?
Black boys don't need separate education systems to learn.
Yes, they do. It's been proven that they do. How many times you have to prove this stuff over and over again? The all-boys schools system actually does work, okay? But nobody wants it because it does work.
No, what works is a solid family household that encourages education and teaches, where education does not stop in the classroom, but it permeates to the household.
How you gonna change the whole culture within a generation?
Shout out to Kev from Black Men Being Brutally Honest. When you hear this conversation about how can we help young black boys succeed academically, it's a very complex conversation because the black male experience is such a complex one. And we know it's complex because we're essentially rehashing a conversation that was being had by Jawanza Kunjufu almost 50 years ago. And it just shows that there is no simple answer because the definition of black male or black man in this case in America is very complex because it's never really been defined.
Well, I mean, if they're in high school, they do have access to IB programs and magnet programs, advanced placement programs. You can get college credits before you go into college.
You can do that, but you can't do it, but does it work?
Yes, it works.
Yes, it worked for me.
Yes, it definitely worked. It worked for me as well.
Okay, all right. But to what degree?
To the vast majority of boys, does it work?
If
the answer is no. The answer is no.
There was more than love in these relationships. There was some money involved here. Our grandparents worked the fields together, had economic reason to stay together, and so they did. In a factory, man works in factory, woman takes care of children. Economic reason again to stay together. But in this new economy, where you now have women working just as much, if not more, than men, you now hear women telling men, I don't need you. Got my own job. Do what I want to do when I want to do it.
Oh, I feel like she giving the kitty out why to take care of females, women.
So you're not providing, you're barely protect because I don't know how to fight no more. I mean, what are you doing? What am I doing with you? If I gotta provide for myself and protect myself, what do I need you for?
Exactly, lifestyle.
You cooking and cleaning? Give birth, be pregnant, do all this stuff, have a career, and take care of home, and make sure you're pleased, and make sure everything's clean. What do I need you for next?
As you can hear, masculinity has always been a kind of moving target for how black men define ourselves. What do we do to be a man? And what's really interesting for me as having the opportunity to live overseas for such a long time and see how men are grown in other places in the world, men are grown in systems. And there are systems where other men are instructing young boys how to become more man-like. And there are systems that are picking up boys that fell by the wayside, systems that are helping advanced boys become more advanced, even systems that are helping unmotivated boys get back motivated. And in our culture, in the ADOS black culture, it's centered around individual achievement. And so as you heard in the conversation, there are some guys, I think that I'm one of them, that have the opportunity to advance and do well. But what I notice from overseas is that they have more successful boys because they have a system to help the guys that are maybe a bit mediocre or right at the line. And there's a guy that picks them up and pulls them up and say, I know what you're capable of, and I'm going to help you get there. And because we don't have that in the black community, we suffer from many guys saying, well, if you didn't get there by yourself 100% on your own, it's 100% your fault. And that's a very difficult way to define masculinity. And you're seeing guys getting squeezed from both sides. And it makes certain guys who finally get to the end say, if I'm in a system that 100% requires me to be successful on my own without any greater availability of help compared to the systems I see around me, it only makes sense for some of those guys to say, maybe this is not the right system for me to try and remain in. Maybe I need to seek another one.
You now hear women telling men, I don't need you. Got my own job. Do what I want to do when I want to do it. And we are now doing it very well and by ourselves. You know the #1 song in the Mirror a couple years ago, Ain't Nothing Going On But the Rent. If you want to be with me, you got to have a J-O-B. It's all about money. All about money. When the economy changed, the family structure changed. And so now we have a lot of people making plenty of money and lonely. They place money before family. You see, black men want to do what white men do. Buy their family a house in the suburbs, 2 cars, and once a year go down to Orlando for Disney World on vacation. And when black men can't do that, they don't feel they're worthy enough to stay.
Because I've had the opportunity to participate in a culture that grows boys from the ground up, and I can see how it contrasts with the kind of piecemeal structure that we have for black men in America, not only do I appreciate the structures that create the men in other cultures, but I also have a new appreciation for black masculinity because it's very unique. And it's unique mainly because black men aren't raised by black men. So we have to adjust.
Female teachers. We're also very concerned about female teachers. Remember, the exact percentage is 83% in the elementary grades. The number of black children in public schools, 17%. But black children are 41% of all the special ed children. Now 17 doesn't equal 41. LD, learning disabled, EMR, educable mentally retarded, BD, behavior disorder. It gets worse. If a black child is going to be labeled special ed, 85% of the time it's going to be a black boy. Why is it not 50-50 black boy, black girl? Well, the reason may not be with just black children, Bill Moyers and Patrick Monahan. It may be up here at the top. It may be that female teachers may not know that boys are different than girls.
Your mama's so old. When Moses split the Red Sea, she was on the other side fishing.
Your mother is so dumb. She brought a ladder to the Giants game.
Your mama been on welfare so long, they gave her a trophy. And the winner is.
The Urban Dictionary defines joning as picking on someone, but if you are aware of the culture of joning / snapping / doing the dozens, then you'll know that it runs much deeper than that. And for a while, I thought that it was just a really unfortunate part of our culture. But if you think about the black male experience as it is and how unique it is, you understand how it comes to be. And Jawanza Kunjufu explains it well.
To reinforce, we found the boys are more aggressive, are more athletically inclined, have a shorter attention span, a slower maturation rate, as you said, are less cooperative, are larger than the girls, influenced more by their peer group, more advanced gross motor than fine motor, not as neat as girls, are louder than girls, like wearing hats on their heads, have a different walk, have a larger ego, and last but not least, play the dozens more than girls. Do you know how many teachers, especially white teachers, white female teachers, don't know what the dozens are, don't know what signifying is? Now remember, we live in a world controlled by men. Males want to find out who's the best, or as they say, who's the baddest. Now remember, in school the rule is you can't fight, but they still want to find out who's the best. They create a new game called dozens, signifying. It is a verbal word game of the most prized person in the black community. Now who's the most prized person in the black community? Your mama. We're going to talk about your mama right now.
Your mother's so fat she ironed clothes in the driveway. Your mother's so dumb she thought St. Ives was a church.
Holistically speaking, young black boys playing the dozens is not the most constructive of activities at face value. But you consider the fact that many young black boys are growing up in unholistic environments where black men do not have control over the environments. And so in such environments where there are constraints on your level of expression, young creative black boys develop the dozens. And because of that, my view of looking at the dozens has evolved listening to Jawanza Kunjufu as I reflect back, because you couldn't get into altercations or you get kicked out of school. And so you had to find ways to be creative. And it is one of the ways that black men have reevaluated or recreated black masculinity in a confined environment.
Talk about your mama right now. I saw your mama on the railroad track, looked at her and said, ooh, get back. It's a verbal word game. Now, The game is designed, it's a verbal word game off the most prized person, your mama. Now, if you break down and start fighting, you getting kicked out of school, so I automatically win. If you break down and start crying, again, I automatically win. Now, before I go on, do you know how many black boys have been suspended or placed in a special area because they were playing the dozens? Do you know how many teachers don't understand those same 2 black boys who were playing the dozens, really getting down on each other's mamas, were the best of friends 2 seconds later? They didn't understand the culture. Now, don't misquote me. I'm not condoning the dozens nor black English, but they both exist.
I think the existential issue that's facing black men in the modern environment is, as black men, how do we define ourselves? Because if you look at media and everything around us, even women, they say that masculinity is protect, provide, buy this, give me a certain lifestyle. If you can't do that, you're not a man. And so for guys that are doing things that are very important, but they're not making a certain amount of money, there's this kind of chorus that you're not a man. But one thing that you notice when you go overseas is that there are men doing much less than black men, making much less than black men, and they are still seen as men. Guys who are regular teachers and police officers, even people that are running street stalls, are still seen as men when they go home. And so in a society where we are being evaluated in terms of masculinity off of an example that is not necessarily what's seen as masculinity all around the world, sometimes our standards for what a man, quote unquote, is can be warped. And because it's warped, many people can use the definition of manhood to get what they want from us. I think that we're in a time now where black men specifically need to take the time and redefine what is a black man in our own words, because we have a special masculinity and we have a special something to offer to mankind. And because of what we've been through and where we're going, it's very important, in my opinion, to not only embrace it, but to use our unique experience to redefine black masculinity in a healthy way that is going to change the history of the planet. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. I'll catch you next video. Take care, guys.